You know how some girls dream about their anniversary dinners? Well, mine turned into a total nightmare. My husband, Michael, and I had been married for 6 years, and I thought we were solid. I mean, really solid. We were at this fancy restaurant in Seattle called the Redwood Bistro, candles flickering, wine flowing, and I had just opened this gorgeous diamond bracelet he surprised me with. I should have been over the moon, but something felt off about him that night. Michael kept fidgeting with his napkin, looking everywhere except at me. Our conversation, which usually just flowed so naturally, felt forced and awkward. He kept staring at random things, the wine bottle, the other tables, anywhere but my eyes. Finally, after we finished our entrees and ordered another glass of wine, he dropped the bomb. Emily, there's something I have been needing to tell you, he said, his voice all serious and heavy. It has been weighing on me for a while now, and I cannot ignore it anymore. I put down my wine glass and looked at him, totally confused. What is it, babe? I asked. Emily, I want to do something that I am not sure you will agree with right now, but it is something I have thought about deeply, and it is important to me, Michael said, avoiding my eyes. I need to explore life outside of our marriage. I need some freedom to figure out who I am. And through that, I believe I will be a better husband for you. I just sat there, totally blindsided, confused, angry, hurt, all of it hitting me at once. What are you talking about? I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, even though I was screaming inside. He hesitated, still not looking at me. I need to explore other relationships, Emily. I want your understanding beforehand so there will not be any misunderstandings or hard feelings when I do. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Other relationships? What kind of relationships are you talking about, Michael? I asked. Well, I'm not entirely sure yet, but I think I might want to see other women, he said quietly. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Are you serious? You want to have an affair and you're asking for my permission to sleep with other women? Are you out of your mind? I said, my voice rising. Emily, please keep your voice down, he said nervously. This is hard for me to say, and I do not want to make a scene. That's when it hit me. He had planned this. He chose a public restaurant knowing I wouldn't want to cause a scene. I felt trapped, humiliated, and furious all at once. My appetite completely disappeared, replaced by this sick feeling in my stomach. Why? Why do you want to see other women, Michael? I asked, my voice shaking. I think I need the space to figure out who I am, to understand my needs better, he said softly. This is not about leaving you, Emily. It's about me finding something that I'm missing, and I need your support. Support? You want my support to go out and sleep with other women? Are you even hearing yourself right now? I shot back. No, Emily, it is not like that, he continued. I love you and I am not leaving you, but there is something I need to experience, and I think it will ultimately make me a better husband for you. I want us to grow old together, to start a family when the time is right, but right now I need to explore this part of myself. I could not believe what I was hearing. My husband of 6 years had just told me over our anniversary dinner that he wanted to sleep with other women and expected me to be okay with it. He wanted to carry on with our marriage afterward as if nothing had happened, promising that he would somehow be a better partner for it. I sat there, completely speechless. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what Michael had just said. The restaurant seemed to disappear as I tried to grasp the seriousness of his request. After a long pause, I stood up and carefully put my napkin on the table. Without saying anything, I grabbed my wine glass, finished it in one gulp, and walked straight out of that restaurant. Emily, where are you going? Michael called after me, but I did not look back. I do not know, I muttered to myself more than to him, but I think you will need to find your own way home. I stepped out into the cool Seattle night, barely noticing the drizzle that had started. My mind was a complete mess, and I couldn't think straight. I found my car, started the engine, and just drove, not caring where I was headed. The pain in my head was intense, like this dull throb that seemed to spread throughout my entire body. I drove for hours, not paying attention to the streets or the time. When I finally stopped, it was early morning, and I found myself parked in this quiet, unfamiliar neighborhood. I had no idea how I had ended up there. Exhausted, I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes, trying to make sense of everything. But the thoughts were too jumbled, too chaotic. Eventually, I drifted off to sleep right there in the car. When I woke up, the sun was already high in the sky. My neck was stiff and my body ached from the uncomfortable sleep. For a moment, I hoped that the events of the previous night had been a bad dream, but the cold reality settled in as I remembered everything Michael had said. I needed coffee and food before I could even think about going home. I spotted the small diner nearby, parked the car, and went inside. The place was quiet, almost empty, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee was comforting. As I ate breakfast, I started thinking about what to do. There was no way I could let Michael go out and sleep with other women while we were still married. That would destroy everything we had built together, even if he had his reasons. I could not accept them. I pulled out my phone, which had been off since last night. When I turned it on, I saw several missed calls and texts from Michael. He was worried, asking where I was, if I was okay, and when I would be coming home. Over the next hour, as I sipped my coffee and tried to gather my thoughts, I came up with a plan. It was time to go home, but I knew things would never be the same again. When I pulled into the driveway, Michael was already at the door, looking anxiously toward me. As I got out of the car, he hurried over trying to hug me, but I stepped back. "Emily, where have you been? I have been worried sick," he said, his voice trembling. "I thought something might have happened to you." "I needed some time to think," I replied coldly. "Michael, I am going to take a shower, and then we need to have a serious talk. We are going to discuss this exploration plan of yours." After my shower and fresh clothes, I went downstairs to find Michael sitting at the kitchen island, nervously fidgeting with his phone. I made myself a cup of coffee, grabbed a notepad and a pen, and sat down across from him. "Okay, Michael, tell me again why you think having relationships outside our marriage is a good idea," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "Emily, I feel like I need validation as a man," he explained. "I do not feel like my needs are being met right now, and I need to figure out what those needs really are. I need to understand myself better, and I think this is the way to do it." "So, you don't even know what your needs are, but you're willing to risk everything to find out?" I asked. "And you expect me to just sit back and wait while you figure it out?" "No, Emily, I'm not leaving you," he replied. "I will still be here in our home with you, but I need the freedom to do things on my own terms." "Okay, Michael, if you are determined to do this, then I have some conditions," I said, keeping my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "You are going to move out while you do this. I will not live under the same roof with you while you are out seeing other women, and you are definitely not bringing them here. If you want to do this, you are going to do it on your own, away from our home." He looked shocked, like he had not considered the possibility that I might set boundaries. "But where am I supposed to go?" he asked. "You can stay with Jake if he is so supportive of this idea, or you can find a short-term rental," I replied firmly. "You will be responsible for all your expenses while you're gone. I am not going to fund your exploration, Michael." He blinked, absorbing the reality of what I was saying. "I don't want to move out, Emily. This is our home." "Not while you're doing this, it is not," I said. "You want an open marriage? Fine, but you're going to have to live with the consequences of that choice. I will stay here, and you can do whatever you need to do elsewhere." He was silent for a long time, then finally nodded. "I guess I don't have a choice, do I?" he said. The next few days were so tense, filled with this awkward silence between us. Michael quietly moved his clothes and personal things into the spare bedroom, and we avoided each other as much as we could. I spent most of my time at work or at the gym trying to deal with the frustration and hurt inside me. On Thursday evening, Michael came into the living room when I was watching television. Emily, I talked to Jake and he said I can stay with him for a while. I'll move in with him this weekend. Good, I replied without looking up from the screen. That's probably for the best. Saturday came, and Michael began packing his things into boxes. I watched from the doorway as he loaded them into his car, feeling this strange mix of anger, sadness, and helplessness. This was really happening. He was leaving, not just physically, but emotionally too. Before he left, he turned to me one last time. Emily, I don't want to do this if it's going to destroy us. Are you sure we can't work something out? He asked. I looked at him, struggling to keep my voice steady. Michael, if you really loved me and wanted to stay married, you would not be doing this. I have asked you to reconsider, but you have made up your mind. So go ahead, but do not expect me to be here waiting for you when you decide you are done with your exploration. He did not respond, just looked at me with tears in his eyes before getting into his car and driving away. I stood in the driveway, watching his taillights disappear down the street, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. That evening, I changed the locks on the house and reset the garage code. It was a symbolic gesture as much as a practical one, a way of drawing a line between the life we had shared and the new reality I was facing. I could not control what Michael did, but I could take control of my own life. The next morning, I woke up early and decided to go for a run. It had been a while since I last ran, but I needed to clear my head, to do something physical to help me process everything. As I ran through the streets of Seattle, I tried to focus on the rhythm of my breathing, the sound of my feet hitting the pavement, anything to push thoughts of Michael out of my mind. One evening, I decided to call my lawyer. I had not told anyone about what was happening between Michael and me, but I knew I needed to start planning for the inevitable. The lawyer I usually consulted for business matters recommended a colleague who specialized in divorce. I made an appointment to meet her the next day. When I sat down with the divorce attorney, she was straightforward and professional. I explained the situation, Michael's decision to pursue relationships outside our marriage, and my need to protect myself in case things got worse. Emily, she said, I understand this is a difficult situation, but it is important that you take steps to protect your interests. We will start by documenting everything. I will draft the necessary papers, but we will hold off on filing them until you decide it is time to move forward. I nodded, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I did not want to be in this position, but I knew I could not just sit back and do nothing. I had to be prepared. Over the next few weeks, Michael and I had minimal contact. He had settled in with Jake, and I suspected he was already exploring the new freedom he had wanted so badly. One Saturday, about a month after Michael left, I decided to join a cycling group I had heard about. I needed something to take my mind off things and help me reconnect with the world. The group met at a park on the edge of the city, and I joined them for a long ride through the hills around Seattle. The physical effort was exactly what I needed, and by the end of the ride, I felt a little more like myself. After the ride, a few people from the group invited me to grab a beer at a local bar called the Blue Ridge Tavern. I agreed, and as we sat around talking, I realized how much I had missed just being around people. One of the men in the group, a nurse named Daniel, caught my attention. He was tall, with dark hair, warm brown eyes, and an easygoing smile that made him approachable. We talked about the ride, our jobs, and eventually about life in general. I did not tell him about Michael, not yet. I wasn't ready to open up about that part of my life to someone new, but there was something about Daniel that made me feel at ease. As the evening wound down, I found myself asking Daniel if he would like to go kayaking the following weekend. I half expected him to say no, but to my surprise, he agreed. I would love to, he said with a smile. I have never been kayaking before, but it sounds like fun. The following weekend, I met Daniel at the lake for our kayaking trip. The weather was perfect, sunny with a light breeze, and the lake was calm. Daniel was enthusiastic, asking questions about the gear and how to paddle. I was happy to show him the ropes, and as we glided across the water, I found myself enjoying his company more and more. After we finished kayaking, we went to a nearby restaurant called the Dockside Grill. It was a casual place with outdoor seating that overlooked the water. We ordered lunch, and the conversation flowed easily. Daniel talked a lot about his work at the hospital, and I found myself sharing more about my life than I had planned. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and I saw each other regularly. We went on more kayaking trips, played a round of golf, and even took a hike through the mountains. Each time we met, I felt more and more connected to him. Daniel was kind, intelligent, and funny, a breath of fresh air in a life that had been suffocating under the weight of Michael's betrayal. One Saturday evening, after a particularly fun day of golf, Daniel and I decided to have dinner at my place. We barbecued on the patio, enjoying a bottle of wine as the sun set over the Seattle skyline. The connection between us had grown so strong, and that night marked a turning point in my healing journey. The following Monday, I made an appointment with my lawyer to start the divorce process. It was time to close that chapter for good. Over the next couple of weeks, her investigator collected the evidence needed to confirm what I already knew. Michael had been dating multiple women, most of them married, and they had been meeting at Jake's apartment. Michael was served with the divorce papers. That evening, he showed up at the house, clearly upset. I opened the door to find him clutching the brown envelope, his face flush with emotion. "Emily, what is this?" he demanded, waving the papers in front of me. "You filed for divorce. Why? I told you I would be coming home soon. I even thought about coming back this week." I took a deep breath, determined to stay calm. "Michael, it is too late for that. You made your choice when you decided to pursue other relationships. I told you I did not want you to leave, but you did anyway. Now I'm moving on." He stared at me, his eyes wide with disbelief. "But I told you I needed to find myself, to feel good about who I am. I did not think you would actually go through with this." "Michael, you walked out on our marriage. You chose to sleep with other women, thinking I would just sit back and wait for you to come to your senses. But I'm not going to be here when you decide you're done with your exploration. It is over." The next month passed quietly. Michael and I avoided going to court by settling the divorce amicably. He received half of our assets, as was his legal right, and the house was sold. I used my share of the money to buy a new place, a fresh start in a different part of Seattle. Word of Michael's behavior had spread among his colleagues at the charter school where he taught. I heard from mutual acquaintances that the school had asked Michael to keep a lower profile because some parents were uncomfortable with the rumors about his personal life. A few months later, I found out through the grapevine that Michael had contracted a sexually transmitted disease. It was not life-threatening, but it needed treatment. On top of that, one of the married women he had been seeing was now pregnant, and there was drama about paternity. Meanwhile, my life had improved dramatically. My relationship with Daniel continued to grow, and we moved in together. A year after Michael left, Daniel and I got engaged and started planning our wedding for the summer. To top it off, we found out we were expecting a baby due around Christmas. Looking back now, I can see that Michael's betrayal, though incredibly painful at the time, ultimately led me to a better place. I learned to value myself, set firm boundaries, and find happiness on my own terms. The biggest lesson I can share with anyone going through something similar is this: never compromise your self-worth for someone who does not value you. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. Don't wait around hoping they'll change. Take control of your own life. Protect yourself legally and emotionally, and never be afraid to walk away from something that is hurting you. Karma has a way of catching up with people who betray trust, and the best revenge is living well and finding genuine happiness with someone who truly deserves you. With Daniel by my side, I was ready to start a new chapter filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future.